Happy Sunday. It's Granddaddy was here. Mimi's gonna stay tonight, maybe. And eat pizza. And we could be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they eat pizza.
We can be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, Michelangelo does love pizza.
Yep. Alright.
Oh, you like pizza.
Alright, tell him bye and go outside.
I used to watch that with Dad.
Go. Alright. We are going to try this for the second time. I had all this recorded. I had my 25 minute devotional ready to go last week. And I haven't checked it. And I got a message that there was no sound. And so I got on and there was no sound. So I didn't have the microphone on. So hopefully this week you all can hear me. And if there's ever anything like that, feel free to shoot me a text or message me or make a comment. We will see it. Because usually I do not know if there is a problem unless somebody tells me. Because I will be completely honest. I do this, I send it out, and I do not go back and check it. I will this one just to make sure that it's right. But, so if you all are wondering why I tried to delete it, but I know some people had watched it. It showed me some people had watched it. If you all got sound, that I don't know how, but that's great. You can ignore this one because it's going to be the same thing. If you didn't have sound, this is going to be what you were supposed to hear last week. So it's Ananias keeping up with appearances, and we're going to stay in Acts chapter 5, and we're just going to concentrate on verses 1 through 11. And we will mention Sapphira, but this text, or what we're going to talk about specifically, just deals with Ananias and him alone, and how what he did came back to bite him or haunt him or came back to punish him. So Ananias and Sapphira had this piece of property. They sold it. They kept some of the money for themselves. Then they gave the rest of the money to the apostles for the help of the church, for needs of the church, for good works. All of that is great. Except when they gave the money to the apostles, the portion that they wanted to the apostles, they told the apostles, here, this is all the money, the entire amount that we got from this property that we sold. And that's where the problem comes in. And another thing, the main thing just right here with, if we were just to stop right there, if we didn't know the full story, if we just knew Ananias had property, he sold it and he gave some money to the apostles, all that was great. But why did he do this? He had heard about Barnabas. We talked about Barnabas last week. We know Barnabas gave money. Barnabas was praised for it. The word got out, oh, look what Barnabas did. Barnabas is great. Ananias got jealous, and he says, okay, he says, I want that. I want the glory. I want to be recognized. I want the honor. So that's the whole reason he sold the property. Now Barnabas had intentions from the good. He saw something he could do. He could give money. He had the means for it, and he did it. And Ananias said, okay, well, I have this piece of property. I can sell it. And I'll get, and then everybody will say, oh, look at Ananias. Look what he did. Oh, wow. And so when he did it to make himself look good. He wanted the glory and honor, and all that was wrong. That's where he felt where the downfall came in. Not that he had property, not that he gave money to the church, not that he did a good thing. It's how he went about it and that he lied about how much. He did this expecting to be thanked and to be praised. But when he's telling Peter this, he doesn't get that. Peter knocks him down a few notches, and he's like, well, wait a minute. And there's 3 things that Peter said. And Ananias goes up to him and says, here's the money for the property that I sold. I wanted to go to the church. I wanted to help the needs. Peter says, well, number 1, did you sell it by your own choice, or you sold it by your own choice? Nobody forced you to do it. Secondly, he said, you were not told to give all the money. You chose to tell us that you gave us all the money, when in fact you actually kept some of the money to yourselves. And thirdly, the sin was him lying about withholding the money. So Peter, he goes up thinking, oh, Peter's just going to fall all over me. He's going to say I'm the greatest. Oh, we're so thankful you did this. We need this. He's got that big head, that big ego, that he wants this. And Peter shoots him down. He's like, wait a minute. He said, we didn't ask you to sell your property. we didn't ask you to give us money, and we didn't ask you to lie about it. Well, when he said that, Ananias knew he was caught. Ananias knew that, okay, I've lied. He found out somehow that I did not give him all the profit we got from this land. And as soon as Peter gets done talking to Ananias about this, Ananias just falls over dead. He's struck dead. He just falls on the ground. His life's taken at that very instant. Now, one thing I did not pick up on when I was doing this devotional is 3 hours later, Sapphira comes around. Sapphira had no idea. I always assumed Ananias and Sapphira went together, went to the apostles. They sold the property together. They told people together that they sold the land. I just assumed that she went to the apostles, that she was with Peter when Ananias gave the money, but she was not. The Bible, in fact, tells us about 3 hours later, Sapphira comes in. Well, she has no clue what has happened. She has no clue that Peter has talked to Ananias. She has no clue what the conversation was about. She has no clue that her husband is dead. Done, buried, out of the way, dead. Gone. She just comes walking in. Well, she meets Peter. And Peter comes up to her, and Peter's having this conversation with her, just kind of like he had Ananias. Ananias went up to him to give him the money. Peter went up to Sapphira. He is giving Sapphira a chance to tell the truth. Now, Sapphira doesn't have any clue what happened. She has the chance to say what is right, the truth. But we see this is rehearsed because Peter goes up and he asks her, how much money did you get for this land that you sold? How much for that property that you gave? And just like that, she comes out. She goes, oh, well, this amount. And Peter knew right then it was a lie. He knew how much the property was. He knew how much Ananias was giving him. She had the chance to say, oh, well, we sold it for this amount. Now, the reason I say it was rehearsed is, okay, if we're going to lie, and the lie involved two people, both Ananias and Sapphira sold the land. They were both in cahoots. They both knew how much the land was for. And Ananias had to sit down with Sapphira and say, okay, well, we sold it for this amount, but we're only going to give this much to the church. We're going to keep the rest to us. She had to know. They had to sit down and say, okay, well, if someone asks you, this is what we sold it for. We're going to say we gave it all to the apostles. We're going to say we gave it all to the church. So you make sure. You know, I think of like my childhood days of, well, I'm going to do, one of my friends would say, or I would say, hey, I'm going to do this, and you make sure you back me up. Especially if you got in trouble at school and you look at your friend, hey, you say this. If I do this, you say this. Same thing Ananias and Sapphira did. So she has the chance to come clean. She has the chance to say, not knowing what happened to Ananias, and I think that is a very key part. If she would have known that Ananias was struck dead instantly when he lied about the amount, I think she would have said the truth. I really think she would have said, okay, I don't want to die. So this is really what happened. But she didn't. She said exactly what Ananias said. She stuck with her story. She stuck with the plan. She did what she was told. And her consequence was she fell down and died. Right there on the spot. Same thing as Ananias. He lied. He fell down. He was dead. She lied. She fell down. So she made a choice to do right or wrong. And she chose the wrong. And her penalty or her punishment was death. Ananias, Peter gave him the chance to come clean. Peter asked him, hey, what is it? And he stuck to it. You know, he lied about it. And it seems like a simple thing. And that's what the point is. He was not commanded to give any money to the apostles. He was not commanded to do a certain amount. He was not commanded to sell the property. All of that was his own choice. And it was his own choice to keep some for himself. And keeping some for himself, that wasn't the problem. It was the problem of, well, I kept X amount for myself, but I went and told everybody, look, we got this much property. Look how much I gave to the church. Look what I did. And it was based on a lie. So what are 4 things that we can learn? Number 1, hypocrisy is a sin. When we have that I'm holier than thou attitude, it's wrong. When we live the life of I say one thing, but I do another, or I do the opposite, we can't live that lifestyle. It reminds me of the let your yes be yes, your no be no. Do what you say. If you're going to walk the walk, talk. If you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. You do what you say. If you say you're going to do something, then you need to do it. Jesus takes hypocrisy very, very seriously. And in different versions of the Bible, it uses hypocrisy in different scenarios or in different verses. And there's 3 versions that she listed. The first one is NCV, and I don't know what that is, but when it describes hypocrisy, it says, how terrible for you. Then the ERV, I'm not sure what that one is. I want to say English Revised maybe, but I'm not sure. Hypocrisy says, it will be bad for you. And then the NLT, the New Living Translation, its hypocrisy is described as what sorrow awaits you. So this is how Jesus describes hypocrisy. It's terrible. It is bad for you. Sorrow will await you. So we do not want to live the lifestyle of hypocrisy. We do not want that. Romans 12:9 says, let love be without hypocrisy. We are supposed to do what we say we're going to do. The second thing we can learn from Ananias is God knows our thoughts and actions. God knew what was going to happen before it happened. He knew what Ananias was going to do. He didn't interfere. He let Ananias tell the lie. He let Ananias go on and sell the property. He didn't stop it. But he knew we can hide nothing from God. Ananias, how many of us have the same viewpoint as Ananias, that Ananias thought he could get away with it, right? God's not right here beside us. We can't see God. We can't feel God. God's not talking in our ear. So he's not here. So he can't see this one little thing he's not going to see. But he does. So Ananias thought he could get away with it. What was his result? He died immediately. Right where he was standing, he was struck down. He died. Thirdly, we learn that God will punish the wicked. The Bible tells us we're promised, if we live the Christian life, if we do what we're supposed to do, our reward is heaven. Our punishment is wickedness. So, we're told that. We are told we will be punished. We're either going to be rewarded, or we're going to be punished. It's our choice, not God's choice. I hear that all the time. Well, it's God's choice that this person died. It was God's plan. It was God's. No, we have our choice whether we're going to follow God or we're going to follow the world or follow the idols or follow whatever it is that's not God. We're either going to be rewarded or we're going to be punished. We are promised that. There isn't, oh, well, you might be. The Bible says you will. You will be punished. You will be rewarded. Ananias was punished. He lied. He was punished. Same way with us. I'm not going to say he's going to come strike you down if you lie, but you will be punished. It may not be immediate like Ananias. You're not going to be struck down. You're going to die right where you stand. Judgment Day, you will be punished. The fourth thing we can learn is punishment of the sinner is decisive and divine. Ananias chose to lie when he knew it was wrong because he wanted the glory, the praise, the recognition, the look at me. He wanted his name known. Well, guess what? He got his name known, but it wasn't the way he wanted it. He is known for the lie. He's not known for selling property and giving it to the church. What do we remember Ananias for? Dying because he lied about an action that he did. We do. Now, I want to say Ananias has some good points that I think we should follow. We do need to be like Ananias in the fact of wanting to do good, of wanting to help church or families in need. It's kind of odd, the timing of this, because last week there wasn't really anything crucial going on, and then what happened on Friday night, it hit Amory. We got a lot of close family in Amory. We've got members that have family in Amory. Amory's pretty close to us. And so we ought to want to do good. We ought to want to go help them. We want to help the members of the church. We need to be there for Amory and Smithville and whoever else was affected. We need to be there. And that's the attitude Ananias had. He wanted to help. His heart was in the right spot. He sold his property to help. But we need to be careful not to be like Ananias. And we need to help because we're commanded to. We need to help because we want to. Not because, look what Paula did. Look what I did. I took X amount of groceries to this lady down the street that is sick or has a terminal illness, or I sent X amount of money to the tornado victims, or I made 10 trips to Amory to help my family member remove a tree from their house. That's not why we do it. We don't do it for the glory or the praise. We do it because it's people in need, and we are called to help people in need. And Ananias had it, I want to say 3/4 of the way right. He wanted to help God's people. He did help by giving them money, but he lied. He had that little bit of selfishness, that little bit that said, I want to keep some for myself. And that's okay. Now, if he was commanded to sell this property and give it all to the church, and he kept some, that's wrong. He was not commanded. So his only fault was he lied about it. He lied about it. If he would have just went up to Peter and said, well, this is 9/10 of the money, or this is 50% of the money, or, I sold, and the only reason I believe Peter asked how much the property was sold for, because he knew Ananias was holding back while telling everybody, look at me. So he's making people, Ananias wants people to believe him when he was lying, and Peter knew that was wrong. We can't be that way. We can't say, look at me, when we're holding back. Look at me. I did all this, but yet I kept all this for my family. And I'm not saying you have to give everything you have. I'm saying, number one, the biggest thing that I got to listen, don't do it for me. So if I go and help these tornado victims, I don't need to tell everybody I did it. I don't need to. Now, if I want to say, hey, I'm going there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. If anybody would like to help me, if anybody would like to go with me, if you know of any specific person I need to get stuff to, okay, then that's different. But if I decide to do something on my own, just like if I send somebody a card, if I take a meal to somebody, I don't think I need to have that on the announcement sheet at church. If I do, I need to evaluate myself. I need to look at myself and say, okay, why did I do this? Do I do it because I want my name announced in front of everybody? Oh, look what Paula did. And if that's our attitude, we better be very careful, because that is living like Ananias. And we saw what happened to Ananias, and we do not want to live that way. So I feel like I've repeated myself 20 times. Sorry, but this kind of hits home to me. A lot of people in the church, out of the church, anybody, any sports team, anybody you're around, if you work in the public, if you anywhere, this hits home. You know people, you may have them in your family, you may have them around you, that look at me, look at me, look at me. We don't need to have that attitude. We need to have the helpful attitude. Absolutely have the helpful attitude. If we can sell property to help somebody, absolutely. But don't lie about it. Don't do it so that your name can be in the paper of, oh, well, Paula sold her house so that it could go help the children's home. Don't do that. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed, to me, in my interpretation, is do it quietly and unknowingly. Now, it's not, now if someone comes up and says, okay, I'm going to help. I don't think it's wrong if I'm talking to my friend and say, hey, I'm taking a truckload to Amory tomorrow. Matter of fact, I did that. We're supposed to have school tomorrow, and we're not going. We're taking a load to Amory. I don't think that's wrong. I'm letting them know I'm helping, but it's not, okay, well, I took 10 cases of water. I took 25 bottles of wipes, and I'm just making up numbers. I don't have this stuff, but I'm just saying, I hope you all see the difference. And sometimes it is good for us to say, hey, I'm going to go help Smithville, because maybe somebody, I don't know, but maybe some people don't know how bad it is. Or there's something the only reason I honestly know is some homeschool families that we know, they no longer have a house. And I just can't wrap my mind around that. And I'm struggling. I don't know if I want my kids to go see that. They need to see it, but on the other hand, I don't know. But we need to be there for them, and we're going to be there as friends for them and do whatever we can. We have one that is actually having to live in a hotel. We have one that sent her kids to another place because they don't have a home. We have one that's trapped in their home. And what I mean by trapped is they can't get out. Trees have fallen all around them, have fallen on the roof. They're in one bedroom. As of yesterday, well, it hit Friday night, and all day yesterday they're in one room. So that's what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying my personal experience. I don't need to broadcast to everybody, well, I took $600 worth of supplies to these people. And to my mind, that's what Ananias did. Was I had this property, I sold it for $1 million, and so I gave $1 million to the church just because he wanted people to say, oh, look, Ananias gave $1 million. Now, I don't know if that's the amount. I just threw out the amount. But, so we just got to be careful. And please don't take it as we shouldn't help or that we are obligated to give a certain amount. That's not the point. The point was he did really good. He had those first good steps, but then when he lied about keeping it, some of it for himself is what got him in trouble. So we got to be careful about how we help people and what we tell people, and we just have to be honest. The big thing here is he lied, and we see what the lie cost us. So hopefully you all heard this one today. Hopefully, if not, shoot me a message. I'll figure out what's wrong, but my little microphone is all red today, so it's telling me that it's on really high. So hopefully it works. Next week we'll be back on track, and we will do Aquila, and we will see hers is tent maker, teacher, and host. So we will talk about her next week. I hope everybody has a great week, and if you all need anything, just let us know, and I will see you all here next week.